Hey guys, welcome back to my review series for the comic adaptation of The Lost World Jurassic Park. This is episode 2 of 4, so if you haven't seen the first part just yet, make sure to check that out before you continue with this video. Now we left off directly after Ian, Eddie, and Nick had made their way to the island, and met up with Sarah Harding, who was busy studying a herd of stegosaurs that were grazing by. After unintentionally irritating the alpha male with the automatic rewinder of the camera that she was using, Sarah threw herself inside of a large log before the dinosaur's spiked tail crashed itself on top of her hiding place. It's a close call, but fortunately for Sarah, no major harm is done. After attacking the log, the stegosaur herd begins to make their way away from this place, leaving our protagonist with quite a lot to talk about. Ian is pretty upset that Sarah neglected to tell him that she was heading to Sorna alone, and makes an effort at convincing her to leave the island immediately. Warning her about the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, Malcolm tells Sarah that whatever she studies will also change. But Dr. Harding has a very passionate answer to this argument, and states that she'll risk that uncertainty. She's sick of scratching around in rock and bones, only making guesses and deductions about dead animals' nurturing habits. When Ian filled her head with stories about living dinosaurs for 4 years, she couldn't resist such an opportunity. Malcolm, of course, makes it known that his stories were filled with mutilation and death, and not exactly indicative of a good time. They debate this further on their trek back to the trailers, with Sarah's anger boiling to a point of declaration that Ian usually doesn't care what continent Sarah's on. Yet now, here he is charging in on a white horse to stop her from doing something she honestly loves. Malcolm tells her that he's never been more crazy about anyone in his entire life, which cools Sarah's head a bit before she asks him why he'd never told her that before. Malcolm insists that he did tell her this while he was in the hospital in Costa Rica, but Dr. Harding elaborates further on that particular incident. While these two are working things out, Nick Van Owen and Eddie Carr notice a fire at their base camp, and after rushing over to put out the smoke, Kelly reveals her presence to her ever-absent father. This changes the situation dramatically for Ian. He needs to get his daughter off of this island immediately, and tells the others that this is their last chance to leave this place before he goes. It isn't too long after he's made this statement that the whirling sound of helicopter blades is heard in the air, and after looking through a pair of binoculars at these foreign aircraft, Malcolm sees that Ludlow has already made his way to Site B. Herds of dinosaurs are on the move, packies, paras, and galleys all running down a game trail with modified jeeps, motorbikes, and specialized capture vehicles in heavy pursuit. Roland Timbo leads the InGen hunting party with Peter Ludlow sitting alongside him. After making the bad decision of choosing to set up base camp on this heavily hunted path, Roland stops his employer during command and begins clearing the air on their relationship. If Ludlow wants him to run this little camping trip, he'd better understand that he is in charge and that when he's not around, that Dieter is. Second condition is his fee. He can keep it. All Roland wants in exchange for his services is the right to hunt one of the Tyrannosaurs, a buck only. How and why aren't things that he needs to worry himself with, but he does need to worry about ordering the men around doing his work. He's been on too many safaris with rich dentists to listen to any more suicidal ideas, and they're definitely not about to try any here. Roland spots a Pachycephalosaurus and tells Dieter to get the snagger ready. Dieter Stark readies his tranquilizing rifle to take aim at the dinosaur, one that he simply calls Friar Tuck due to its head resembling a bald spot. Robert Burke and the InGen veterinarian pull up behind him, watching in horror as the Packy rams its domed skull into the side of one of the jeeps. Dieter fires, and other hunters quickly surround the dinosaur after it begins to feel the effects of the tranquilizing agent. Roland commands Dieter to turn around and rally behind another. He's just found a Corinthosaur with a big red horn, one he simply calls Elvis to avoid any further confusion. And soon, a tranquilizing dart is thrust into it as well, leading our central hunters to the spot that the dinosaur fell. All of this is happening while Eddie, Nick, Kelly, Sarah, and Ian are watching on from a nearby cliff. Dieter Stark makes his way to the fallen Corinthosaur and takes out a long electrical conductor to stab into the dinosaur's neck in an effort to knock it out quicker. Robert, the veterinarian, Roland, Ludlow, and Carter, Dieter Stark's driver, all gather around the fallen beast. After it goes unconscious, Carter takes care of tagging it while Robert notices a small chicken-sized dinosaur making its way towards the group. Stark begins to drink water from a canteen before he decides to pour it on his head to cool him off from the tropical heat. Some of the water had begun to run down to the tips of his boots, and this attracted the Compsognathus that Robert Burke was mesmerizing over. Dieter says that this creature gives him the creeps, before asking Burke why it didn't look scared of them. With no visitors to the island, Burke thinks the Compies don't have any real reason to fear man, before Dieter puts his electrical conductor down to the animal's head, shocking it and causing it to run back into the jungle. Proud of this new reason, he'd given the dinosaurs to stay away. Meanwhile, Ajay, Roland's tracker, manages to find the fresh footprint of a large Tyrannosaur, prompting Roland to take out his double-barreled rifle. He's brought 600 Nitro Express cartridges with him on this last hunt, one that he's sure will be worth the journey to this odd little island so far away from his home in Africa. After traveling a bit in the bush, Ajay and Roland don't find the parent, but they do happen to come across its offspring. With this infant Rex only a couple of weeks old, the two men capitalize on such an opportune moment and decide to bring the baby with them back to the hunter's base camp, where they plan on laying a blind and killing the adult once it finds its offspring. And later that night, Hammond's team look on at the hunter camp from a safe distance. They've managed to catch a Triceratops and have with them a wide variety of different equipment, specially designed for this very mission. It becomes clear to Malcolm that Ludlow is desperate to take these animals off of the island and back to the mainland, something that he knows will end up being a very bad idea. Nick Van Owen uses this moment to reveal himself to the other members of his team. He states that Hammond thought that they'd be done before Ludlow ever got here, but in case they weren't, he did send a backup plan. Van Owen makes it known that he's an environmentalist who specializes in sabotaging enemy groups who endanger the lives of animals, prompting Eddie Carr to call him a tree hugger. This gives Malcolm the nudge he needs. He tells the others that this is it. This is their last chance. No more games. He's serious. He's taking his daughter off of the island, and he begs them to come with him, but the others have already made their minds up. Kelly tells her father that had she not come along, that Ian would be right there with Nick and Sarah sabotaging the hunter's equipment, but Ian assures her that under these deteriorating circumstances, that he most certainly wouldn't. They're teetering on the verge of a very unstable situation, gambler's ruin. A statistical phenomenon that says everything in the world goes in streaks. You see it everywhere. Blackjack, baseball, stock markets, anywhere possible. Once things go bad, they tend to stay bad. Bad shit clusters and ends up going to hell together. He leaves with Eddie and Kelly, which prompts Sarah and Nick to begin their work. Meanwhile, Roland chains the baby Rex to stakes in the ground, making sure that it can't run away just before Ludlow walks up to ask him whether or not he thinks his plan is a sound one. Roland says that he once saw a bull elephant kill itself charging a jeep. All the jeep did was scare the bull's calf. He also saw a lioness carry wounded prey 4.5 miles all the way back to its den, so it could teach its cubs how to finish off the kill. The Rex won't be any different. But Ludlow highly doubts this kind of behavior from a T-Rex. He doesn't think a Rex cares about its young. It only cares about filling its own belly. Tyrannosaurus Rex acts the way people wish they could. That's the whole reason people are fascinated with it. He says that if people had the chance to see just one dinosaur in their lives, it would be the Rex. During Peter's speech, he unknowingly trips over the baby's tail and falls back onto the infant's leg, breaking it. This causes the injured Rex to fall to the ground and begin to moan. Roland is furious, and after cursing Ludlow, he makes a point of telling InGen's new CEO that Orwell had a point. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. But Peter has absolutely no idea what Roland seems to be going on about. He reveals that it's what the animals said just before they took over the farm. Peter Ludlow is tired of this man's insolence. To hell with Roland Timbo and his fixations with T-Rexes. He goes into his tent to prepare for his satellite conference with the members of the board, while Sarah and Nick jump over the laser fences that surround the camp. Nick climbs underneath all of the hunters' vehicles and begins to cut the fuel lines. All the while, Ludlow shows his investors all of the hard work that he put in earlier that day. Nick and Sarah make their way towards Ludlow's biggest prize of the hunt so far, and begin to cut the locks that keep it inside of its cage. Now we get to learn what Peter Ludlow's vision for the future of InGen looks like. John Hammond's abandoned original version of Jurassic Park sits nearly completed in San Diego. With all of the animals that he's captured ready to be shipped back in a relatively short time span, this Jurassic Park could be finished and ready to receive visitors in less than a month. He goes on about how excellent this venture will be for the company before the noise of an incoming animal begins to frighten him, and Gambler's Ruin begins to take effect. Alright, so I really thought that this issue was even better than the last. You don't really realize how much of Lost World got cut down until you're either reading its script or just taking a look at some of the other material that was released alongside it. Gambler's Ruin was an idea that Michael Crichton put forward in his novel version of The Lost World, and it's really cool to see this idea included in the comic version of the story. It was actually a part of the original script that David Koepp wrote for the second movie, and from what I understand, it was actually filmed as well. I'm beginning to realize that The Lost World would probably have been close to a 2-hour and 45-minute movie if everything was left intact. From the deleted scene that showed Ludlow breaking the baby's leg, to the Gambler's Ruin speech, and of course both the boardroom scene and bar fight scene that we saw in the last issue, this film would have been considerably longer. In fact, there are actually even more deleted scenes that showcase Burke going on about species of Maiasaurs and Corinthosaurs being on the island, as well as Roland explaining that the rifle he carried belonged to his father and was made in 1904. This is a great comic series, but I can't help but wonder why all of this deleted footage didn't make its way into the final film. Like I said, I'd love to see a longer version one day, if we're ever offered the chance at getting to see one. Now before I go, I want to thank my game wardens, as well as my InGen executives. I'd also like to take the time to thank my park workers and new InGen hunter, Louis Charles. It's awesome of you to show support for the stuff that I do, man, and I really appreciate it, as it seriously helps this channel grow. To all of the people that have helped make this channel better than ever, a sincere thank you. Now, I want to take the time to thank you all for watching this video, and I hope that you all enjoyed today's content. If you think that I deserve it, I'd appreciate the like, and I hope that you'll consider subscribing if you're interested in hearing from me again. I'll see you all in the next video, guys, and as always, take it easy.